Hello people, it is me, and by the way, me is Valoran. Welcome to my channel, and since you didn't know, I'm a board game craftsman as a hobby, which simply means I take something, this could be a book, a short story, an idea, or in this case an online game, and turn it into a board game. Now of course, everything I create and have manufactured in the past have been entirely crafted by hand, with the use of course of certain, if you could call it machinery, such as a personal computer, a plasticizer, clay, plaster cloth, and many more materials you can find in any art supplies shop. And although I love creating board games and have created many of them in the past and always had fun with my friends playing in the summer afternoons, I had never ever released one of my games in the market. I really never gave too much thought into it. I loved creating board games and some work, others didn't, but generally I always thought that me and my friends had, let's say, the privilege of enjoying something no one else knew anything about its existence. However, when I was 11 years old, which means about 7 years ago, something changed my life. Although I had been playing online games for a long time and inspiration for my creations was always taken from there, i.e. Wizard 101, Dragon Song, everything changed when a good friend of mine introduced me to a new online game which, I'm sure you've guessed it, it was League of Legends. I fell in love with the game from the first moment. As a person, I enjoy online games. No, basically, I love online games, but the thing I love the most is when there are stories behind the characters, as well as the designs of characters in the game and its function generally. League to me was amazing, and imagine back then, half the champions we know now did not even exist. I'm sorry, did I say half? I meant 500 million of champions we know now did not even exist. And the arena, I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember how the old arena used to look like. Since then, I never stopped playing League, not even when my first account was stolen. I made back then my personal goal to create the best League of Legends board game to ever exist, and for a short period of time I was so disappointed when Riot came out with their own. But then I realized their game had nothing to do with what I had in my mind. Because when I said I wanted a League board game, I didn't mean anything like mechs and minions. It seemed so boring to me, so not like League of Legends, so I didn't give up. I worked on my game for 5 years, my entire adolescence, and I created more than 6 different models with a variety of rules, trying out 2 of them with my friends that I thought worked well but had malfunctions. Regardless, there were things that turned out to be fine, so I started building on them until I could create something actually fun and playable. And because this game has been my entire life all this time, the last year I have been working on the final product that I'm about to present to you in this video and many others on my channel. So finally, as your host, designer and creator Valoran.Van.Ghoul, I would like to introduce you to the League of Legends Battle Arena, a board game concept. And to clarify, if it hasn't been already, although I would love to, this game is not out on the market, at least yet. It hasn't been purchased by any company, it has been only tested out with my friends in order for changes to be made and rules to be decided. And because the game works indeed, this channel was created to provide useful information mostly to my close friends who had the chance to try it out. You know, so they can have a better understanding, learn tricks that didn't cross their mind, and establish rules that were not clarified until now. Of course, if you're not one of my friends, feel free to subscribe to my channel for more content, support me, comment, dislike, and for any questions or concerns plus additional content, message me directly in my email or Instagram, as they will be both included in the description below. I would love you to support my idea. So to take things from the start, League of Legends Battle Arena was designed not to replace the already existing League of Legends board game, but rather create something new, more interactive, more interesting. Something that shouts out League of Legends no matter how you look at it. It was created to allow players to enjoy a game of League away from the computer screen, but at the same time capture every single essence of the actual game. So as you play, expect to be sometimes a noob or a pro. Expect to be frustrated and angry as you die unexpectedly, only to end up raging for revenge. That is League of Legends after all, it wouldn't be the same without it. Of course, in order to capture the feelings of the players as well as the differences between the individual champions, items, spells, runes and monsters, the game is based on a Dungeons and Dragons pattern without of course any dungeon master. That gives players their individual turn as well as the ability to interrupt one another in order to make a sneak attack, save their teammates from the bad spot, or even flash smite that Baron and leave your enemies crying. However, to capture all these, we needed an arena that would stand out to the challenge. So here it is everyone, League of Legends Battle Arena. A three-dimensional model that brings the game to life with separate areas including side and mid lanes, jungles, passages, Mount Targon itself, and finally a huge river cutting the arena in half. To help you understand, the arena alone is 40 centimeters wide and 60 centimeters across. That is 15.7 inches and 23.6 inches if you like, and to make a comparison with the actual Summoner's Rift, the side lanes stand as bottom and top lane respectively, while the river doesn't stop but cuts the arena literally in half, allowing for a top and bottom river to be formed. As expected, there are two jungle areas that actually represent the deep forest of Summoner's Rift where the Sentinel and Brambleback emerge. However, there is an addition. In Battle Arena we also have what I like to refer to as Jungle Passage, which stands as the area of jungle near the mid lanes, allowing for ganks, and you will see later what I mean. You will also notice that there is a representation of Mount Targon, and on the other side we have the Rocky Valley, that's the name I gave it, that replaces the fountain, and this is where the shop is located. Into the game now, let's analyze and explain the most complex yet fun game I have ever created in my life. So, the game can be played of course with a minimum number of 2 players, exceptions include those people who like to play on their own, and of course the maximum number of 10 players. And before the game starts, all these people are obligated to decide certain rules, with the most important being how will a team achieve victory. Since this is an open board game, your only limit is actually your imagination. With turrets, monsters, events, and so much more, the players can choose literally a different achievement that will lead them to victory against their enemy team every single time. A classic choice is to play until the turret of the enemy team is destroyed, or you can play in sudden death mode. However, there are no boundaries. Think outside the box, since the board game allows you to create your own rules every single time, or if you don't feel like it, watch my other video analyzing gaming modes. Regardless, after the rules have been chosen, everyone must choose their champion and rune. If you ask now what kind of champion, well, here again there are actually no boundaries. You can choose any champion of League of Legends you like. Each of them has his own very well-known unique abilities, tricks and personality, and to answer your question, yes, of course, I have recreated all League champions to fit the rules of the Battle Arena, adding passives or transforming some of their abilities into passives, and you can watch all of their spotlights in my other videos. Please give me some time to make their spotlights because, hello, we have 150 champions. For the runes now, there are plenty, just like in the game, but here you must choose only one rune, not an entire page, because let's face it everyone, it's a board game, there are more important things. Although runes will be included in another video, I will just say here that depending on the style you want to play every time, there are runes to serve your purpose, including for example Comet of Legend, Grasp of the Undying, Lethal Tempo, Kleptomancy, and many others. But you must choose only one, which can be activated if you roll a purple side on the rune dice. And since I started here, I should probably mention that there are 10 different dices in the game, but there is no reason to freak out. The 5 major dice in the game are the ones that will be rolled by every player at the start of his turn. Simply pick all of them 5 up and roll them at the same time. This includes the minion dice, which will define the number of minions you passively killed, since there are no actual minions in the game. Also, the card dices, these dices 2 in number, are identical and will define the cards you can pick from the decks that will help you in the game. The rune dice, which as I explained will define if you're able to use your rune or if it is on cooldown. And finally, the mana or energy dice that will define if you have enough energy or mana to cast abilities that require so. Here it's worth mentioning that between the 10 dices there is also the normal dice, which is your classic 6-side dice with normal numbers. This will be used in occasions where the game guides you to use it. For example, champions who can root or stun their enemies like Ashe must roll the dice to see if they actually achieved stunning their enemy or if they missed. Also, certain items of the shop have passives that require the usage of normal dice, and you will see later what I mean. Now of course I still have 4 dices to explain, but hold that thought and I will analyze them when needed later. For now, let's go briefly to the cards you saw me mentioning previously. In the game, of course, there is a great number of cards which include battle cards, spells, items you can purchase from the shop, runes, and also some other special cards. For beginners, the most important ones after choosing your rune are actually the 3 major decks that are used non-stop in the game. In these 3 decks, there are battle cards, dark runes, cards, and of course, if you were wondering, spell cards. You see, in a board game where every player actually holds 5 to 8 cards that are passives or abilities for his champion, as well as his rune, it would be just too much to add spells, as well as another dice to control them. So I decided to make League more fun. Along with your normal spells, i.e. Ignite, Flash, Ghost, Heal, etc., I added certain abilities from champions that have useful effects when fighting against someone but deal absolutely no damage at all, like Thresh Hook, Fist, Trickster, Wukong's Decoy, Tristana's Rocket Jump. The spell cards deck, which is defined as blue, includes all of the above, which makes the game more interesting and unexpected. The way the cards work is that at the start of a player's turn, he must roll along with others the 2 card dices, and they will each show a mark that can be blue, red, or purple. Blue for the spell cards, red for the battle cards, and purple for the dark runes. This means, of course, that you can end up rolling 2 red cards or 1 blue, 1 red, and amongst them, the most rare ones will always be the dark runes or cards with purple deck, because these particular cards represent the arena fighting against you, and yes, you heard that right, I give life to the League's arena. Between them you will find runes that have been altered to damage champions, as well as root, snooze or stun them, and also summoning runes that will invite monsters in the arena during the game, such as the blue sentinel, red brambleback, dragons, baron, and lastly but most importantly, event runes, because the game would be nothing without the chance for a random event to occur out of nowhere and completely alter your perception, turning your game upside down. You see, when I was designing League of Legends Battle Arena, I thought to myself, what if I could get advantage of various events Riot has created over the years that bring not only the game, but rather the world of Runeterra to life? And so I did. By picking up a dark rune that orders for a game and event to take place, you must also roll the event dice, which wasn't mentioned before. The event dice will randomly select 1 out of 6 different events that can potentially occur, including Snowdown, Blood Moon, Urf, Bilgewater, Harrowing, or Star Garden Invasion. And if the game doesn't sound fun until now, allow me to continue. The cards are referred to as red or battle cards are actually 2 types of cards. They include single-use items, which means items that empower your next basic attack or ability, and others that protect you, working as shields. That can be casted only once and then must be discarded. However, the second type of battle cards includes the very useful interruption cards. These irreplaceable cards will allow the player who holds one of them to literally interrupt someone's turn and cast a single ability or basic attack. You see, the spells or blue cards can be used at any given time, but the battle cards only during your turn. However, the interruption is supposed to do exactly the opposite. Simply wait for your enemy to use all of his cards in order to empower his next basic attack, and then as he goes, I deal damage, just say interruption and drop the card in his face. Suddenly you have interrupted his turn, and now you can cast one ability or any battle card and item passive you want. Right there, cast a shield or a stun and block every single damage point he was supposed to deal, and then laugh as you see him having to throw away all of his cards since they cannot be refunded. They were one use only. Of course, there are other ways you can use the interruption cards, I just gave you an example. You may also use them to take damage from an enemy skill shot on your ally's behalf, so protect him by standing partially in front of him. Furthermore, every player has 2 energy points at the start of his turn, which he can use to change land, use basic attacks or abilities. Spells and battle cards used don't consume points, and also purchasing items from the shop area in your turn won't cause you to lose any points as well. However, mind that changing land once to move to a close area, casting a single ability, or using a single basic attack will all cost as actions 1 energy point each, so you must be careful when you act. Additionally, something I should have mentioned before is that the shop area is the only area where you're allowed to buy items, and the list of items is actually pretty extended, with cheaper and simpler items allowing you to use them as materials to craft something stronger during the game. For example, you can use ruby crystal and longsword to craft fades, which can then be transformed into black cleaver. The money in the game can be earned by slaying other champions and monsters or by destroying enemy turret, but most importantly can be earned by gathering minion coins. You see, you roll the minion dice as said before. It defines the number of minions you killed in your turn, which can vary between 2, 3 or 4. And depending on the number, you then receive a minion coin. At 5 minion coins, you can exchange them for a real gold coin. Remember that simple items usually cost 2 coins, so that makes it pretty simple and useful. Without literal minions running around the map, you passively gather them as coins, only to exchange them for gold. To conclude, another important thing to remember is that in the game there are 3 types of damage: magic, physical and true, with true damage being the only one that usually cannot be avoided, and the other 2, magic defined with blue, physical defined with red color, being open for you to enhance by using items. Also, After you die during the game, regardless of the rules you have chosen, you must lose all extra cards you are holding in your hand, apart from your rune and abilities of course, and then be revived with full HP. To see where you will be revived, make sure you use the normal dice. The battle arenas areas are marked with numbers from 1 to 6 to help you out. Here, I'd like to thank you all for attending this video. You can find more about this game by exploring my channel. Support me with your like and comments, and always have a nice day. From board game craftsman Valoran Van.Ghoul, see you in the next video.
Time to shine.